Hi, welcome to Laura's View and Tarot 2. I'm really glad you're here. Today's date is Sunday, September 10th, 2023. We're coming up on the anniversary of a tragedy on American soil, the 9/11 Twin Towers and other acts of terrorism that were done in 2001. And I had a viewer who wrote me and asked me to look into something. Now, this video is going to honor that request, but additionally, I wanted to show a couple of things about 9/11. For those of you that are still on the waking up journey, where you're starting to realize that there are items of information that just don't match up with facts, as far as the explanations that we've been given about 9/11, that jet fuel was able to take down the Twin Towers when jet fuel has never taken down a building before. When there were so many anomalies. Building 7 was part of my wake up journey when that happened hours later. And then I was attacked online anytime I would mention it for the longest time, that just made no sense to me, that this many hours after that building came down in such a controlled demolition type of way. So I've included a couple of things if your journey is still waking up, and as far as to the duplicity of what happened on 9/11 and the fact that it really wasn't a terrorist attack, and it was a domestic terror, not a foreign soil terror attack. They may have had some assistance. I've heard that there were demolition teams wiring up the buildings for weeks that came from a country across the water. But I don't want to, without proof, I don't want to say that that is something that I totally buy. I give it some value, that I don't totally buy it. I'd need a little more proof. I don't need proof to have come to my final conclusion that the terrorism was planned by three-letter agencies and enacted in order to further an agenda of taking away some of our rights and abilities. So let's go to the compilation and I will show you. There's one point in the compilation. I have an interesting situation. I had one place I wanted to add, and Facebook would not allow the link. So I will show you where I found, and I can't see that there's anything that wrong with it. I'll show you where it is. Okay, 1 second. Okay, here is the compilation that you can get to by clicking on the Facebook link that will be in the video description box for my video on YouTube. And I've included, here is a picture, and here's what we'll be doing the read about: the 9/11 memorial, which goes 3 stories deep into the ground. And I'll get to that with you in just a minute. I wanted to do a little bit of just because it is a time to remember. I did find one beautiful, I think, memorial, and that is the survivor tree. So here is a really nice link that takes you to the story of the survivor tree, a pear tree that was at ground zero and survived. It was damaged, but it survived. And so it's a really beautiful story. So now here is a picture paints 1,000 words. If you'd like to know what my opinion is about the two towers, here we go. Authored and enacted by here. Okay, now here is just, again, if your journey is still trying to get to some real truth about what happened that day, here's a link that takes you to Propaganda in Focus, and it's simply eyewitness evidence of explosions in the Twin Towers. So eyewitness accounts about explosions. And then here is the link. If you're interested in this one, pause my video when I click on it so you can see where it is, okay? I just wanted to include this article from the planforthefuture.org. It's 5 years old, but it's just a listing of September coincidences for September 11th. I didn't think it was controversial, but Facebook does not like it and won't let me add that to my compilation. So there you have it. If you're interested in those coincidences, you can Read those for yourself. Now let's get into what a little segment that I got. It's part of an email. Okay. And here is my viewer said, as a retired American Airlines pilot, this event was traumatic, the 9/11. And it took me almost 15 years to fully see the real truth and the deception. 2 years ago, my wife and I visited the memorial at Ground Zero, and I was appalled. Instead of a very uplifting experience, the best way I can describe it was a sense of evil and foreboding. The footprints of the two towers are deep holes framed in black granite, and the names of the victims on top of the granite wall, and water running down the sides to a pool below, which then runs down into a deeper hole. The whole place gave me the creeps. He also goes on to say that his wife, who has some clairsentient abilities, also felt very unnerved by the visit there. The quote I said to my wife at the time was that they reminded me of bottomless holes to hell. And he'd like to know what the cards say. Is this messaging from the deep state? I wanted to do that because I remember hearing a lot of controversy when that particular memorial was proposed, that it wasn't uplifting, not only literally, but figuratively. And there was controversy about it. And that has all been scrubbed from the internet as far as I could see. So what the internet would have you now think was that there was absolutely no dissent about this memorial, that everybody agreed on it, they're happy with it, and that is not the case. So the fact that they are trying to take away that the documentation that people objected to it and why they objected to it. The memorial follows the footprint in inverse form of the original Twin Towers. They were square buildings, and there is a lot of symbolism involved with square cubes, Saturnism. You can do a little research for that. So here's where we're going with this question today. Again, I'm coming at it from a firm belief that this was a domestic terrorism attack. Absolutely. And those behind it don't worship a loving creator like I do, and have purposes that are not humanity loving. So I would like to just ask if there's truth to the speculation that the 9/11 memorial was more a memorial to a successful ritual killing and sacrificial spree than an honoring of the victims, the true victims of 9/11, and if there's other insights and information the universe wants us to know. So again, if I was going to visit anything, I would visit that pear tree. It lived through it, and they take 3 cuttings a year and graft them onto other trees and offer those to communities that have also had some sort of a disaster and situation they had to survive. And I just think that's a beautiful living tribute, and living tributes and memorials are what those victims deserve, not homage to a dark agenda. So let's see if there's truth, that this is truly more a homage to a dark agenda than an honoring of the victims. And if there's other insights and information the universe would like us to know. 1 second. Okay, honoring the victims or homage to a successful sacrificial event. Let's see what the universe wants us to know about the 9/11 memorial. We have the 8 of Wands, Strength, Temperance. The Fool. 3 major arcana so far. Queen of Cups. 5 of Cups. The Tower. Interesting that that shows up in relation to a question about that event that felled those towers. Okay, as usual, I'm going to tell you what the cards are telling me, and then we'll look at the elements of the cards that led me to say that. Okay, what I'm getting is, well, that may have been the intent of the memorial. It's almost irrelevant because the resilience of the American people and the resolve of the American people has overcome any symbolism that they have tried to have, or homage that they have tried to do to again, a successful sacrificial event. So let's take a look at the cards and I'll show you why I say that. First of all, when we have the 8 of Wands, it is a fast moving events thing, and those towers did come down all within one day. And the Strength card, though, tells us a little more, despite that is the fact of what's happened. Okay, this card, Strength card, is always about perseverance and grace under fire, and even forgiveness. So as hard as it seems to be that we may be asked to do some forgiving for events like this, it is possibly something that at some point we will be asked to do, knowing that justice has been enacted by others. So then forgiveness allows us to put it to rest and to go on with our lives and pursue our path of light and ascension. Not getting there yet. That's just a possibility. The recent past, we have a Temperance card here. Again, a card that shows some moderation. So, and look at all the water that's showing up in these cards with the water in the memorial thing. The Temperance card, whatever they may have expected, it didn't work out quite the way they wanted. That was the card that made me say, with the Temperance card being one of modified expectations or keeping your expectations reasonable, that's why I say that. The Fool is kind of our advice here for the present, because we're moving out away from a time when evil will have that kind of a capacity to inflict that kind of damage on innocent humans again. And just a nod that right now our path is changing right now. And that's why no matter what the intent was of that memorial, it's almost irrelevant. Moving forward, now let's get into insights about the near future here. Queen of Cups is showing up here. She's got a lot of intuition and compassion, okay? And she's, again, surrounded by water. And the strongest advice card is the 5 of Cups, just acknowledging that this was a very sad event. There was significant loss, thousands of human lives. And even now the death toll rises because there are first responders that are having health issues that directly go back to that event when they ran towards the problem, not away from it. God bless them, everyone. Okay, the Tower almost needs no explanation. The Tower card shows up when there's a significant event and changing. And yes, when the Twin Towers fell, it was used to enact a lot of changes in our world that still affect us today. And the only grace note on that is the fact that it is, having been through something like that, we've seen how we can come together in times of crisis, how we can have unified purpose and resilience because we survived something major and we did it together. There was a lot of patriotism after 9/11. There was a lot of love expressed for our fellow man. Yes, some of it was twisted. We were directed to hate a certain group of people and to blame others that shouldn't have been blamed. But those lessons of how we can come together are valuable and will be used in the near future. Let's get a couple more cards and see if there's more insights about this memorial and events around them. Okay, we got the 5 of Swords. Ace of Wands. Again, now we've got a hard yes to the question, was this an homage to evil? We've got a hard yes with the Ace of Wands. And also, this is a card of new beginnings. So again, we're moving into a place where it's almost irrelevant what their intent was at that time, because we're moving on from that. The Five of Cups, it talks about fives. We've got a 5 here and a 5 here. Okay. Temporary situations, the sorrow we feel is temporary, even though it might seem like it's not. The 5 of Swords is kind of a partial win. Okay. So yes, when the towers came down, there was devastation and there was loss of life, and it was a successful ritual sacrifice situation, absolutely. But even then, it wasn't as much as they wanted. It wasn't as much, and it never will be as much as they wanted. And it definitely wasn't as much as they needed to continue to have the power and authority over trusting American citizens and humans in general that they needed. Okay. I have the Two of Cups showing up. Two of Cups has been showing up a lot lately. I like it because it's a very balanced energy card, one of agreement with some heavenly oversight. And again, both male and female, divine feminine, divine masculine, equally represented and equally in agreement and in alignment. And so it's just, we're getting that nod that there's some alignments coming along that are going to be beneficial, and some agreements that humanity's going to be proud of and glad for. The Devil card, again, showing us what the event was about. It was evil. We knew that. It was authored by evil, and it was not a foreign endeavor. There may have been elements that helped with it, but the plan itself was domestic from start to finish. Well, let's recap. A husband and wife viewers of mine, Curtis and Nancy, had an experience at the 9/11 memorial that was very off-putting. They felt a lot of negative energy. They didn't find it uplifting as they expected, and just felt like the entire memorial was more a celebration of evil energy than a true respectful remembrance of innocent loss of life. And they wanted they've been asking apparently for quite some time. Here you go, guys. I decided to do the reading about that. Now, we also did a little bit of, a couple of rabbit trails. First of all, I found a memorial to 9/11 that I thought was beautiful. I included that in the compilation. It's the survivor tree, the pear tree that survived at ground zero, despite all the destruction that day. So I provided a link for that because I think it's a very uplifting and affirming type of memorial. Then for those of you that are starting to embrace the possibility that 9/11 has a lot of subtext that's been hidden, a lot of truth that hasn't been shared. I put a couple links that can maybe start you on that journey. There's thousands, so don't think it's comprehensive by any means at all. I also switched over to a screen that showed just a 9/11 coincidences that Facebook wouldn't let me put in the compilation. I tried twice. So they don't like something there. Be worth reading. And then an excerpt from the email that I've gotten from Curtis and his wife, Nancy. So that kind of springboarded the reading. Now, here's what we got. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. The memorial was designed as an homage to successful ritual sacrifice. Absolutely, it was. We got an ace also confirming that. Absolutely. But we got some cards that said, you know what? It's almost irrelevant. We're going to a new place. We are going to a new path. So no matter what the homage intent was, it's not working out the way they wanted. Okay. Even at its height, it only had mixed success. And as I mentioned, the internet seems to be pretty well scrubbed of controversy around that whole selection of that type of memorial. And I remember reading lots of articles and items about it, how controversial it was. Now the internet would have you believe it's not controversial, it's just universally accepted and beautiful. And anytime I see some scrubbing, it makes my radar go off. It should yours too. Okay. And the reason why it didn't is they sorely underestimated the resilience and strength of good humans. Absolutely. And that's part of the reason, no matter what their intent was, it hasn't worked out. The other thing is the fact that the fool is talking about how we're going out into a new place and a new way of living, where while this 9/11 memorial, I haven't seen it on the list of landmarks that need to be erased and done away with. It's not going to ever have the power and the success that had been hoped for in its design. And the design was not one that was meant to honor life, but to celebrate a successful sacrificial situation. Okay, again, we had the tower card that showed up in this. And that, again, we have the towers coming down. We're asking about that, the memorial to it. So it just kind of all jived together. The overarching idea here is no matter, yes, Curtis and Nancy, your inner intuition and your discernment was absolutely spot on for what the intent and the energy around that memorial site were and are. The good news is good humans have a lot more resilience and strength than evil ever anticipated. And that's part of the reason we get so much pushback now. It's kind of like, don't wake up, don't be strong, don't unite in purpose, we can't have it. And they can't, because there's so much fewer of them than us, them being evil energy of whatever stripe or color it is, that wants humanity to be sick, short-lived, fewer in number, and very obedient. So let's celebrate the survivorship, the resilience, and the absolute strength that is such a big part of even our impaired DNA, despite all the elements that we've been made to eat, drink, and have put in us that weren't meant for that. So kudos to humanity, the human race. We are one human race, and our one human race needs to be united in purpose, that never again are we going to be enslaved. Are we going to be dumbed down? Are we going to be treated as livestock and dismissed? They fear us, and they should. Until next time, I thank you so much for watching, and I wish you love and light and everything bright. Bye.